there's so many best practices, right? If you ask somebody, everybody's going to give you a different opinion, right? But I like to focus on three. So the three that I like to focus is being data driven, collaboration and information sharing, and bringing in and integrating new technologies. So I think it's a combination of these that are going to give you some of the best practices for getting the best results out of your demand forecasting and the strategies that you implement once you put that into motion, right?
So what does the data-driven approach look like?
So when we talk about a data-driven approach in supply chain management, we're always sort of thinking about, or essentially we have so much data, right? We talked about it's heavy on data when we talk about supply chain management. But you need to be able to gather all this data, figure out a way to process it, and then analyze it. So eventually you can get a decision out of this data. So the best practice is to gather the data and have some sort of means or ways and have systems and things in place that are going to help you process this data, because you sit down and do everything manually. And believe me, I know people that do. Yeah, I know people that do. And I know people that still like to do the good old fashioned way. But now we've become so heavy on the data sets and the value sets that we consume and that we eventually use within supply chain management and demand forecasting as a best practice, that you need to be able to process that data accurately so that you have good data come in, but you analyze it, you process it, so you make good decisions and you have good decisions come out of it. So that's what I mean, with that, right? And we do that by gathering historical data, the sales numbers, the information, as closely as to the time that is happening as possible. And another part of that is also getting not just the data and the numbers, but also gathering insights and market trends, right? What is the market doing, or what is happening within the market that we can take a look and take some clues, right? Back to the detective thing. Get some clues from the market and gather that information, right? We could do that. We used to do that. If you ever got in the mail back in the day, you get the mail and the surveys in the mail, and you would have to mail it back, right? That's not what we do. We survey consumers in different ways. And now even more so, we look at what consumers are doing on social media, right? It's not just posting that selfie of that great cup of coffee, but it's also how us as a business can see, and not to sound creepy, how we can see what the consumers are doing and what some of the trends that are happening in this particular area that revolves around the supply chains, and what our demand can benefit from those trends, right? And the companies that do it best are the ones that identify those trends early on, so they can be on that curve that's going to lead them to be able to put that to market earlier than everybody else, right? The first one to the ball takes the game. It's sort of that situation, right? And we do that way. Now, in this as well, when we talk about information and data, we need to be able to use advanced analytics, and we need to be using good forecasting models to be able to not just have this data, but be able to do something with the data, right? And within this data-driven approach is always about the use of systems and how we can use statistical algorithms and technology like machine learning, AI, to be able to enhance the accuracy of our forecasts, and how we can bring that in and combine the two, our knowledge, our information, our data, and then these tools, these tech tools that we can introduce into it now to make our jobs easier. I always say, why do it the hard way? Don't do it the hard way. Bring something that's a little bit more, that's going to give you a tool that's much better for you, so that you can take advantage of that as well and implement that in a way that gives you a better result.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that the next category is collaboration and information sharing. Can you kind of go a little more into detail about that?
Yeah, so we want to work together as a team within supply chains, right? We always used to think of secrecy as the first thing, of keeping everything within our organizations very close to our chest, right? But I think now, and I think from here on out, we always want to focus on collaboration and information sharing, because we want to make sure that we're not duplicating the work more than we have to, right? So in that, we do this sort of practice is called unifying demand insights. We bring everybody in that we can. We bring in sales, we bring in production, we bring in the forecasters and the procurement, and we bring everybody that's going to have some sort of input within our demand plans, and we're going to ask them to work together so we can unify the effort into creating a demand plan that's going to make the most sense. If we integrate all these different data sets, if we integrate all these different experts and people within our organization, and then we can ask them together, what is the best thing that we can do with this one demand plan? Because you're only going to have one demand plan, one forecast for whatever time frame, but one of them for your organization. And if we can all come together and work together as a team, then that's going to really build on a much better demand plan. And that's always a best practice.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, I
right?
love that, right?
I mean, siloing information is never great. It's something I think it's a very old school mentality that like
Exactly.
knowledge is power. So people are so precious about keeping that
Yeah.
close to their chest. But I think in the modern day, people are starting to realize that it's better to have that good information flow,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we're in the age of information. We're in the age of
Mm-hmm.
AI, right? We're getting so much information, even from artificial intelligence now, not just people. And I think, yeah, it's all about unifying that, making sure that all of us are working together to do one single task, that we don't have to repeat itself over
Yeah.
and over again.
So when it comes to integrating new technologies, what would be your main tips for this?
So I think when we're talking about integrating technology, supply chain management, I think it's really important to use tools and technology is going to help your operations, boost your operations. One of them that is really crucial is real-time data analytics. So you have all this information, all this data, and there's this joke or this thing that we say within demand forecasting. You're planning for the future based on the whims of yesterday, right? Based on what the population and the people did yesterday. We're doing that today without that real data, real-time data. So why do that when now we have the tools to look at the information and the win and what people want to do today in real time? When we see something move out the shelf, we can see that in our systems right away. We can see as that product's moving out of the shelves right away. And sharing that information back with everybody else that is involved in that supply chain, it's so crucial. It makes such a big difference, right? So the technology would be to incorporate that real-time analytics, and we do that through the use of machine learning and AI systems. I think inFlow has a great ability to do that, right?
Yeah, thank you. We thank you for bringing that up. We do, in fact.
I
Yeah,
don't want
no.
to talk all about myself.
Yeah. No, inFlow is great for that. We have real-time data tracking, so you know exactly what's going on in your system when it's happening, which is amazing. We have a great reporting feature. So we have we're obviously very data-driven as well. We even have like a reorder point system where like our software will help you figure out what the best reorder points are, so you're not ordering too much or too little of anything. Yeah, like we're all about the data. For sure.
And that's part of the next thing, right? Another best practice is to bring in real, it's not just the real-time data, but big data analytics, right? It's putting all this information in and having something that is able to process it and help you make a better decision, right? A better informed decision. And having systems in place like that is what's going to the technology is going to drive us all forward. And you don't have to be afraid of it. You just have to know how to work those tools to incorporate them and become a best practice within your demand forecasting, demand planning, supply chain management as a whole, right? Another technology that I think a lot of people either have heard or they're starting to hear a lot more is predictive analytics. So within this big data, within this real-time data, we also want to be able to not just use the system to process the data and give us an analytic report. Now there's ways to do that and have a predictive analysis. Let the system tell you what they think is going to happen. And then you take that, and then based on that, you're going to make a better informed decision, right? And I love that because it's not just, okay, don't tell me what to do, but in some ways, do tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do. Please tell me what to do.
Take that off my plate. And if you can, please do.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, right? ChatGPT, AI, all of these things, don't be afraid of it. And I tell that to the students more recently now that I'm not an expert on this. I can't claim to be an expert on AI and all this stuff. But I do have some sort of information and I like to inform myself, lifelong learner here, how to use some of these tools, right?
Leverage it, yeah.
And how they're going to come in and leverage some of the other things that we have within supply chain and demand planning and how that's going to be implemented. So always learn about those stuff and don't be afraid of it, right? It's a technology that's some people say, and I hear this all the time, it's going to take away jobs and it's going to replace a lot of the things that we do. To some extent, unfortunately, that is the case. But then to some other extent, you have to be aware of it and be ahead of the ball and say, you know what, how am I going to use this as a tool? We're always going to need to have the human factor of things, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All of us are still going to have to come in and tell the intelligence what to do, the AI what to do.
Until
It
Skynet,
doesn't.
yeah.
Exactly, until Skynet, to put it out there. But yeah, they're listening. So don't be afraid of it, right? You're going to be able to use this as a tool. Think of it as a tool that's going to make you a better professional. It's going to make you a better, supply chain professional as a whole, a better demand planner, a better demand forecaster. It's going to make you better by using these tools. So
Right.
don't be afraid to do that, right? And another best practice within demand forecasting is cloud computing, right? And this is sort of, we're going back. This is not a technology that's new, but this is something that I always like to put in here, because I always like to have the message out there that the least level you can do is have something that's cloud-based. Have your systems run in a system that is at least cloud-based. Why? Because that leads to better integration of your efforts, right? We talked about sharing information and unifying efforts, right? When you at least have a cloud-based system, then you're able to do this in a cloud. Everybody has access to put data in. Everybody has access to that data. Everybody has a way to work from that one particular cloud. And that's at least as a base, right? And we talk to a lot of small businesses and corporate training that we do, and we talk to them and we try to get them out of this bubble of how they are used to doing things and push them a little to see that there are better ways to do things that are not going to be so scary. Get your feet wet into cloud computing. And then from there, maybe we talk about machine learning, and maybe then we talk about other technology. But at the very least, do some cloud computing and cloud-based computing for your supply chain, your demand forecast, everything that deals with this collaboration approach.
Yeah, inFlow actually started off as an on-premise software solution, right? So there wasn't cloud-based at all. And of course, we saw the benefits of going to the cloud. Gives you real-time data. You can, multiple locations can share information a lot easier. So yeah, we definitely moved into that field, and it became so popular so quick that we just completely stopped with our on-premise entirely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the benefits of it, right?
Exactly,
And I think everybody should that works in supply chain, everybody that's scared to do it, don't be scared. Do it.